Good evening, campers, and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. I'm Commander Exorcist, and welcome to my beginner's guide to settlement raiding in Elite Dangerous Odyssey. In this video, I'm going to be going over some very basic tips and tricks that can help you get started in the masterful art of taking out settlements by force. There's a couple of different reasons that you may want to do this. Chief among those is collecting materials. There are a lot of crafting and engineering materials stashed in lockers around the galaxy. And so, yeah, you may want to go out there and steal some of that stuff. There are a couple of different ways that you can do that. You can do it peacefully by taking out the settlement alarms before they go off, or you can do exactly like is being shown in the video on your screen and just go all out and don't worry about the alarms and just kind of take out everything that you see and shoot until you own the settlement. And so that's what we're going to talk about in this video. I'm going to go over some of the basic things that you can do to kind of make your experience a little bit easier and more effective and more profitable. Now, before we get started, I do want to throw out a massive shout out to a recently departed friend, Commander Quiz Engine, who did a lot of research into the design and layout of the installations in Elite Dangerous that were added in the Odyssey update. There are approximately 28 different configuration of stations spread out across 5 different categories. You have tourism, high-tech, agriculture, industrial, and military. Each of those categories of stations come with their own unique challenges and interfaces. You will find some materials at a higher rate in tourist settlements than you will find them in military settlements. So it's important to make sure that you pay attention to the type of material that you're trying to find. For example, if you're looking for weapons components, this agriculture type 4 installation is definitely not something you want to be raiding in search of weapons components. This is the type of place that you come if you want to find genetic samples, biometric data for employees, and the like. So it's very important that you pay attention to the type of installation that you are raiding so that you can be sure you're going to get, or at least you increase the chances of getting the appropriate rewards for whatever you're doing. Now, as I said, this is a beginner's guide, but I'm going to assume that you have a basic understanding of on-foot first-person combat and the basic systems necessary to find Anarchy Settlements, because you really want to do raiding like this in an Anarchy Settlement. Unless you're doing a specific mission that you've been given at a starport or, say, at another surface settlement, you really don't want to run into a system and just start blasting your way around when their government is 100% intact, because you will find yourself at the muzzle's end of a weapon. In the case that you're seeing on the screen, these are NPCs as have responded because of the alarm. And so if this was not an Anarchy settlement, each time that I took out one of these soldiers, I would gain a criminal bounty. And so I would be hunted down eventually by increasingly more difficult NPCs and eventually find myself in a prison megaship. So it's very important, if you're just going to do, kind of sit down on a planet and start raiding lockers, that you're doing it in an Anarchy settlement. You can find Anarchy settlements using the Inara tool online, or you can go to the system map and look and find a list of factions in the system that are listed as Anarchy, and then you can do a filter and sort and find specific installations in the system that are Anarchy as well. And so before we get started with the actual raiding process, there's one more thing that we need to address, and that is the type of equipment that you bring with you to the settlement. I am a firm believer that the best equipment for raiding a settlement is the Maverick suit upgraded to G5. The arc welder is an invaluable resource for cutting into lockers and making your way into settlement buildings that may have been disabled, or you don't have the appropriate security clearance to access them. So you'll see here on the screen my particular loadout. This is what I typically use when I am raiding settlements. To be honest, I recommend the Manticore Tormentor as your primary pistol. Upgrade that to G5 as fast as possible. You don't necessarily need to engineer it, because just at G5, it will take out most NPCs with 2 shots. As you've already seen in some of the video examples, most of the NPCs go down in 2 shots with that pistol alone. I also carry a Karma AR-50 as kind of my primary weapon, but I just kind of use it when I feel like it. But the Maverick suit is an absolute must-have if you're going to do Anarchy Settlements or just settlement raiding of any kind, mainly because of the arc cutter. Without it, you're really going to be limited to the access that you're going to find in the different settlement areas. And so now I'm going to actually start walking you through the process of raiding a settlement. I'm doing this example in an agriculture type 4 settlement, but these principles pretty much align with any type of settlement, regardless of where it's at and what its function is in the game. So the first thing that you want to make sure that you constantly stay aware of is the location of the NPCs, the soldiers, and the staff members that work at your particular station. If you look up in the top left corner, you'll see the mini-map, the little radar screen, and it has 2 arrow indicators on it, and you'll notice that those people are visible in the screen. You got one guy inside the window there, and then we've got a soldier out here. See this guy, Israel Barrett. He's level 1 scout, and so he's got level 1 security clearance. He's enough to at least get us to be able to turn off the alarm system, which again is the second part. You always want to make sure that the alarm system in the settlement is your primary objective at the beginning. When you get to a settlement, probably the most important thing you can do is to shut down the alarm system so that you can make sure that no reinforcements arrive. We're going to be doing that momentarily. But if you look at the screen here and you see Israel, as long as I keep him outside of the red circle on my mini-map, he can see me, but he's not really interested in me. He'll just kind of walk by, doesn't really view me as a threat, and doesn't really engage with me. And that is important because as long as I keep him outside of the red circle, I can pretty much do anything that I want. I can go up and I can use the arc welder to cut my way into a door. As long as he stays outside of that reticle, then I'm not going to have an issue with him. I want to show you what happens, though. If you walk up and you accidentally get in there, and let's say you got nothing going on, now he's interested in me, he wants to scan me. I don't have any reason not to be scanned, so I'm just going to hang out here, and there's no bounties, and so we're done. If an NPC soldier tells you to stop so that you can be scanned, always stop to be scanned. All right? So try to keep the soldiers and everybody, unless you really want to interact with them, outside of the red zone. Now, the next tip is the rooftops. It is important to maintain the high ground, a very tragic lesson that Anakin Skywalker did not learn. You must maintain control of the skies, and so it is much easier to take out a settlement if you stay up on the roof, because you don't have to worry about all of the guards wanting to scan you. So you can traverse the roofs in most settlements and get pretty much where you need to. Now, there are 2 main objectives whenever you're raiding a settlement, in addition to the materials that you'll be gathering or anything else that you want to do. Every station, regardless of its configuration, will have a power station, and it will be designated PWR. Some of them are integrated into other buildings, so like it won't have an external door. You'll have to go into, say, the command center to access the power unit, but they are all there, and that is where you will find your power regulator, and that's where you can steal the power regulator and shut down the station. Or inversely, if you find a station that's turned off and you happen to have some extra power regulators in your hold, you can use those to turn the station back on. Now, the alarm system. Where is the alarm? Well, basically the alarm spawns in a variety of different locations based on the settlement type. Now, I'm going to include a link to Quiz Engine's website, which has a complete list of all 28 designs for these settlements, including locations of the alarm panels. Now, if you're a little more adventurous like me, I prefer not to use the maps and just kind of look around myself. Typically, the alarms will form or will be placed in one of 3 locations. The command center. So if there is a building designated CMD, there is a high probability that the alarm system will be somewhere in that building, usually in the security area. also in the power center. So if you have a smaller station and it has a power center, you will see often the scanners, the authorization scans, and the settlement alarms together inside the power station. For this particular station type, these agriculture ones, these are some of the weird ones. This one, the alarm is actually over here in the far corner inside one of the agriculture domes. And so there it is. That has to be disabled before we can do anything else if we don't want anyone coming to take us out. Now, how do you do that? Well, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. Like I said, you can just start blasting and the alarms will sound, people will come. And if you've got the skill and the firepower, you can take out the reinforcements and then be on your way, do whatever you want. Or you can pull out this handy little scan tool and turn it to illegal cloning mode. And you will be able to scan the security profiles of the people inside the facility. This is a very risky, very dangerous method for obtaining security access. The NPCs in Elite Dangerous are very observant and very quick to respond. In the event that this guy sees me trying to scan him, there is not going to be time for me to do anything about it. And he saw me. Just like that. Now, you'll notice that there's an alarm over his head, and that means he's calling in backup. And since I can't get to him, once that little yellow indicator disappears, and you'll hear an audio where he says that he needs assistance, now the alarms are going off, and the mission is completely different because now it's a war. My stealth operations are over. So if you do that, well, get ready because the reinforcements are on their way. This is why it's important. If you'll notice the gun, how good it is. So in this case, what I can do is I can still scan. So let's say you accidentally set off the alarm. No big deal, right? Well, I'm going to scan. I'm going to run in here because I know that this is where they are. I'm going to miss. You set off that alarm. That wasn't very nice of you. And I'm going to turn off the alarms. And the authorization scans. And what that's going to do is that's going to stop any future reinforcements. So as long as I take out these soldiers and these personnel, I'm not going to have to worry about any additional reinforcements coming to the station. So it's a minor inconvenience. Just like that, we are done. There's one more in here. Who is it? Civilian. Just like that. It says my ship is under attack. It's always a good idea to dismiss it in that case. Pay attention to your notifications as well when you're doing these things. And always stack up on fresh batteries. And see, this guy thought he could... And see, you'll get instances where you have civilians that will rush up and try to take you out, but they don't have nearly the firepower necessary. But like I said, if you accidentally set off the alarm, it's no big deal. If you can get to the alarm, scan somebody, take it out, and then go shut off the alarm. And once the combat dies down here in a little bit, we will have no problem raiding the rest of the settlement. So, the way to do the scanning is to make sure they can't see you. I was taking a risk. I should have been behind him. But I was directly over him, thought that maybe I could get away with it, but it only takes a fraction of a second for the NPC to recognize what's going on, and they will call out, set off the alarm, and you'll find yourself fighting a response force. So this is how the station is done. It's why you want to make sure that you bring weapons and have a little bit of experience with them. So once you've set off the alarm, the station is basically yours. You want to scan somebody, so you want to use your profile analyzer to make sure that you have level 3. If you look over above my shield indicator, you'll see the little purple 3. That means that I already have the highest level access possible in the station. So that means I can go anywhere. Level 3 is typically reserved for some of the more high-level laboratories and always the power station. The power station will always be a level 3, unless a very rare instance you'll see them as a level 2 to gain access, but it's still typically a level 3 to get into them to actually mess with the power core. I've got some people still up here that are messing around. I want to say hi to them. Hello there.
Take him out.
Got him. This is one of those locations that sometimes when it comes to the power stations, you'll sometimes find a control console up here. You can see kind of where it would spawn, and you'll often find the settlement alarms up here as well. And so once you come in, you can just pretty much do whatever you want. I have relogged recently, and so these lockers are all empty. And so if you come down and let's say you raid and you take all the locker stuff, if you want to reset the installation completely, you have to leave the installation, go into Super Cruise, and then come back. If you don't go into Super Cruise, you'll come back. The station will be reset. All the security stuff is good, but there will be no goods. And there's also no data. So if we find a data port, you won't be able to access any data as well. One other thing about this, in entering restricted areas. So if I had not set off the alarm and I was kind of sneaking around and I had stolen level 3 clearance, let's just say that I kind of walked in the door here and I ran into one of the settlement workers. Well, they wouldn't care. They don't know the difference. So I'm totally fine to walk around in here. I'm going to be totally safe. But the moment that I cross the restricted area, they are going to come after me because they're going to know that it isn't me. And so that's something you want to make sure that you're very cautious of as well. With the doorways, if you want to make sure the doorway is permanently open, you can take the energy link that we use to refill our batteries in our suits, change it to overload, fire a shot into the socket, and the door is disabled. And so this is a great way when you're planning to, like, I'm about to disable this facility. And so now I have a solid way out of here when the power goes off. So we're going to go over here. And as I'm finishing up the last few things I want to talk about with the settlement rating, I'm going to deactivate the power core, which requires a level 3. When it's done, the power regulator will be released from its housing. We will steal the power regulator, and then we will return to the ship and be done. A couple of other things that you want to look out for when you're going through these settlements. So you'll notice that the settlement is broken down into different buildings and different setups. So STO is storage, and obviously AGRI is agriculture. This is like an agriculture lab. And so storage is going to include more of your industrial type material. So if you're looking for like metal coils or circuit boards and stuff, you're most likely going to find them in a place like storage. When it comes to agriculture, this is a biolab. This is a place where things are being grown and work is being done on research. So you're going to find like biogenetic samples and other things here. And so this is where you want to look for those kind of things. So if you're running a mission that tells you that you need certain samples of a certain genome or whatever, these are the type of places that you'll want to look. For the most part, now there are certain exceptions to everything, but for the most part, whatever type of material you're looking for, you want to search in that type of building. So I'm not going to be searching for biometric data or any kind of biological research materials or plant life inside the power station. I'm going to go over to the domes, and if I want circuit boards and wire or microhydraulics and stuff like that, that's not saying I won't find them in here, but I have better chances of finding them inside of the storage facility. And so that is going to be pretty much it. This is a pretty basic, just kind of overview of settlement rating. There is so much more to learn. The best way to learn settlement rating is to get out there and do it. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to set off the alarm a lot. It doesn't matter how much you try. It's just going to happen, and that's why you want to be very, very prepared with a highly engineered suit and highly engineered weapons to be able to take on whatever forces come out to attack you. And so, like I said, the best way to get good at doing settlement ratings is just to get out and do them. You're going to make some mistakes, but hopefully this tutorial will help you avoid some of the more common pitfalls and give you an example of what you can, do or not do when it comes to taking out these locations. The most important part is just to have fun with it and view it as another kind of niche opportunity in Elite Dangerous to go out and try something different. Work on your combat skills or learn how these settlements function and go take out a couple and explore the unique environments, because there are a lot. There's 28 different designs, and across these different areas, the military ones look different. I really like the agriculture ones that we're fighting in at the moment. And so there's a lot of variety out there with these settlements. There's a lot to learn. So again, get out there and give it a try, and be sure to share any tips, tricks, or additions that you may have in the comments below. This community is great about helping others, and that's really what we should be doing. And so if you have ways that can make things easier for people to raid settlements or kind of come up with their own way of doing things, then please feel free to leave comments below. I'd love to hear what folks have in terms of their own personal philosophies when it comes to this type of activity. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me for this basic tutorial on settlement raiding. I'm Commander Exorcist. Take care, fly safe, and I will see you out there. Good night, everybody.